Yes, here we go. P.M.P. While the ref's away at P.M.P, the mice will play. Terry, what's happening, my man? Looking fresh faced, younger than ever, mate. You're nearly as young as me now, mate.
I was getting tired there during the week. I got all sorts of things during the course of a beard. At some point, you'll attempt this in your life.
I think I'll be about
you'll go
94 years old or something, mate. I'll be able to grow a beard.
But you go through the different stages. So I was getting kids shouting at me, calling me Roy Keane. Then I was getting kids shouting at me, then they were calling me Jerry Adams. And then this week they were shouting Santa Claus at me. So that was the last thing. Santa Claus. So that's
the evolution of the beard is Roy Keane to Jerry Adams to Santa Claus. That's the 3 phases of beard.
That's the way it went. But Bhoycie, just before we do start the show, I need to just thank the Bhoycie Bus review panel for downgrading last week's red card to a yellow, which enabled me to come back onto the show today. And
you were brilliant last week, mate.
I'm on the milk, and
that's shite, Pat.
There'll be no repeat performance.
Did you know the worst bit is I had my first drink watching the football this season. I've had like 3 vodkas. I was ready for you the day Pam was away, and I was like, oh mate, we'll be getting tore into it. And now you tell me you're on fucking milk and all this carry on, and you've no beard, and it's just a whole new Terry that I'm just not comfortable with, to be perfectly honest with you.
I'll be honest with you, I got up on Monday. I didn't even remember being on the show. I didn't even remember being on it. So all I know was there was something to do with Curly Whirly. I found a Curly Whirly wrapper lying in the bed beside me, and then I seen a few comments in the chat, and then I'm starting to go, holy shit, I was on the show last night, and what the fuck was I doing? And it kept popping up for me. I'm just going, there's no way. I'm not watching it. No chance. I think Phil used the word carnage.
I thought you were good, man. It was carnage, but you were box office, mate. It was good. Mikey Cole is watching it, and he just became our latest member. Yes, Mikey Cole. I thought, is that an avatar of Liam Gallagher there? See, Oasis might be getting back together as well. Interesting week. But let's talk about Celtic anyway, because that is the most important thing. Hello, Paddy. I want a happy birthday to Jonathan, my brother. He's been on the pod. Yep. I don't know, 32 today. So he's getting closer to my age for a couple of months, and then I get older again. But anyway, enough of all that shit, all that good stuff. Give us a like, give us a share, become a member, slag the hair, buy hair, whatever you want to do. If you want to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button, you never miss a bus. Even when the bus is late, it means you'll just be there 10 minutes early, like today. Sorry, Gary. But yeah, let's crack on. Terry, it's 3-0. I think this will be, I don't want to discourage you, mate, but I think this will be our lowest viewed P.M.P season yet. I think our 3rd season only, you grow in numbers. I've just got a feeling we're going to swap teams aside now. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself. There's plenty of other issues at Celtic when it comes to an 8-game competition, but I want to be extended to more than 8 games. That's the dream. And that's the one that is in Europe against the best of the best. And we sure ain't tooled up for that. But I feel domestically, Brendan's took this team on to another level. The cohesion in the side, the understanding of what he's trying to do, and for one of his favourite words, the intensity that they play with is there, man. It's all to be seen. Early starts, early goals. I know the judge had tweeted that a striker hasn't scored, but Brendan said in his presser, after it, that he wants everyone in his team to be contributing goals, and it's been a telltale sign of his side throughout his managerial career. I suppose when you look at it, the law of averages tell you you'll get a good spread of goals across the team anyway, but he's obviously looking for higher numbers across and a better spread of the wealth than just a 40-goal striker and single digits elsewhere. But we kick off again, Terry, with a start to remember. And that's what Celtic have done so well this season. Are they up for it today? Remember we were saying this last season? They look disinterested. No motivation. Well, the same group of players now, which they undeniably are starting games with real purpose, real determination, real drive to punish teams early. I'll tell you the season it reminds me of. Now, for what memories we don't want to have of Helicopter Sunday, we know that the reality is the 02-03 season, arguably, Celtic were the best version of themselves under O'Neill. That year we got the Seville and stuff. And then if you remember the next year, they just seemed like killers from the start of that season onwards. It was like, we lost by a goal. That won't be happening again. Teams just got put to the sword right from day one. I remember match day one going, holy fuck, they've actually got really wound up by this. They just, whatever happened, the message got across that we can't afford to have even a split second off the ball here. Brendan's team will do it with control, and you'll see that in second halves. but we're getting the job done early, and that's what's important. Cal Mack, another cracker of a left foot strike. But talk to me about what you've seen with Celtic's intentions at the start of the game so far.
I think that the key observation, Bhoycie, is that these first 4 games have been absolutely stress-free. The job's been done. The job's been done. And I might be wrong on this, but I think we've scored within the first 10 or 15 minutes in all 4 games. I'm pretty sure. It might even be less than 10 minutes. And once you get the first goal in these games, more often than not, it's not the job done, because the teams can come back. But statistically, once you get the opening goal in these games, you've broken any resistance that like St Mirren, Hibs, Kilmarnock, you've broken any resistance they had once you get the first goal. And for us, in these 4 games, we've scored so early, and immediately you go into these games, and even thinking last year, and I talked about this, there was an excitement about a game against Kelly or a game against St Mirren, a game against anybody last season, even at home. There was an excitement because you didn't know what you were going to get. It was like a bag of dolly mixtures. You didn't know if you were going to get a good first half and a bad second half, a bad first half, a good second half. You had no idea. And there was lots and lots of games where we were under pressure, we were under stress, and we might have eventually got the result. But, it was a long road to get there. Whereas these first 4 games, I know one of them was the League Cup, but all 4 of these games have been, we've scored in the very early exchanges. There's been absolutely zero stress. I hope this trend continues for one more week where there's zero stress. I can't imagine that'll be the case. I think next week will be a little bit of a different test. But that's the key thing that I've taken out from watching the games. At no point has your heart started to race. You've been looking at the clock thinking, right, see if we don't score before we get to 60, this could get dodgy. If we don't score before we get to 70, none of that. It's completely stress-free. It's 100% control. It's at it from the off. It's getting the early goal. And the thing about today that I liked was McGregor getting that goal. And that's twice that he has got the goal that opened the scoring. But to me today, that was him reassuring everybody, do you know what? Matt's 99.99% gone. The only thing that will stop it now is if he fails a medical. But that was McGregor saying, okay, don't worry, I've got this. I'm in control. And see that goal that he scored? It reminded me so much of McGregor's goal against Rangers towards the end of the season. Not McGregor, sorry, O'Reilly. The one that gave us the lead, where he hit it from around about the same distance, left foot into the corner. And it just felt to me a little bit like that was McGregor taking the game by the scruff of the neck, saying, do you know what? We've lost 37 goal contributions from last year. Don't worry, I've got this covered. That was his statement. And I thought him and Hatate today, I thought the two of them were so authoritative. Hatate was buzzing. His smile when he scored that goal. I mean, the thought process is that Hatate's unhappy. Hatate wants his move. Hatate might not get his move because O'Reilly's got his move. When he scored that goal today, I saw a face that was very, very happy to be at Celtic. And
you're talking about Hatate's smile?
Aye.
Fucking mental you say that, Terry. I exactly thought the same thing looking at that. That's crazy you've just said that.
That didn't look like a guy in a strop. And he gets this reputation as he's in a strop. He's unhappy at the club. He wants away. Yeah, do you know what? Leicester might be wanting him. Somebody else might be wanting him. Celtic may or may. I mean, my thoughts on him, I'm sure we'll talk about the last week. My thoughts are, if we get the right bid for any player, it's fair game with this board. They'll take the money. They'll not care. But Hatate didn't look like a guy that didn't want to be around Celtic today.
Yeah, well, I think from my point of view, mate, I look at Hatate's reaction there, and you know, it's so funny you bring that up, because what I was thinking when I seen it was, have I been guilty? And I was kind of alluding it to much more the fan base as well, and just myself. Because I never just take self-responsibility, Terry. It's got to be everyone else's fault too, you know. But I was like, why is it I've completely decided he's checked out? What have I based this on? That's what I was thinking when I looked at the smile and went, fucking hell. Does he not look a happy boy to score for Celtic? He knows it was a cracker of a goal, of course. But it was real joy. It was real delight. And I thought, And then I was racking my brains after going, why is it I've decided he'd be more keen to go? Because I think I stated that I think Hatate would be far more keen to go than Matt O'Reilly would, and I think Rodgers would want him to go more than Matt O'Reilly. Still stand by the second one. Just because Matt O'Reilly was so exceptional under Brendan, a real Brendan Rodgers player, not an Ange Postecoglou one. He wanted another Aussie, Riley McGree, if you remember correctly. And then thought another Aussie, Aaron Moy, would be a better option than Matt O'Reilly. And you look at Matt O'Reilly going for 30 million this summer. You start honestly looking at me and tell me I was wrong, that Aaron Moy's a better fit than Matt O'Reilly. And it doesn't matter if he wasn't at that level that he's left Celtic at. Good managers get them to that level if they've got it in them. And Matt O'Reilly had it in him from day one. And I'm delighted with how he's done. But there is a general consensus, Terry, that Hatate's for the off, wanting to be for the off. Hatate signed a new contract at the same time Matt O'Reilly did. It's Matt O'Reilly who's away to Brighton. It's interesting, isn't it? I thought of that when I seen the smile. Let's talk about the 2 goals though. Before we get to the second half one. The Callum McGregor strike actually reminded me more of the one that he scored last week. That's what it reminded me more of. Very similar, mate. And I thought, see if he finds his range. One of the great traits Callum McGregor had under Rodgers' first time round, which you didn't see much last season. I think, if anything, if Rodgers had a bit of a off season, then I would say Callum McGregor. I mean, Brendan Rodgers won more points, than most do. He won the league by more points than Ange did in either of his 2 seasons. I think Rodgers, that being his off season, I think you could contrast and compare that pretty easily and pretty nicely with Callum McGregor having a 7 out of 10 season instead of an 8 out of 10 season. Do you know what I mean? And one of the traits he had under Rodgers' first time around was goals. He scores fucking goals. He's got a great eye for goal, a great finisher, always has been. I'm encouraged. And I just wonder if it's a mental thing as well. I don't want to go too deep into it, but just knowing that this is all I've got now. This is it. There's no side shows, no side bets, no side distractions.
See, just on that point, one wee funny thing. The 2 games that Steve Clarke's been at, McGregor scored in the first couple of minutes, and the camera pans straight to Steve Clarke, and he's just sitting there deadpan kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Thought that was funny.
Oh, it's so true, mate. It's so true. And no wonder. I wonder if there'll be more phone calls made to Callum McGregor. As I was just
thinking the same thing. I was thinking, does he say, Callum, are you going to have a rethink? Honestly,
I wouldn't be surprised at that. Or you would play it cute, and you would get guys like Lewis Ferguson, whoever it may be, in the Scotland team, and hopefully have a successful campaign. And then you've got a 32 approaching 33-year-old Callum McGregor. Maybe has had 2 seasons in the form of his life scoring goals like that. Steve Clarke was, look, I don't care if it upsets anyone. Do you fancy a World Cup, mate? That would surprise me. We've seen that, by the way, with no one could think that's an ego thing or a step backwards. We've seen Henrik Larsson did it 3 times for Sweden. There's the best example I can give you. Retired twice, 3 debuts he made for Sweden, is what I mean. But if you like, because he was retired twice and came back just for the big tournament, didn't do the qualifying campaign. Think smarter, not harder. Whatever's work, smarter, not harder. Anyway, left foot strike for Calmat, and then a left foot strike from Rio Hatate when he hits it off those laces, Terry. That ball is hit truly, and it is only going one place. All right, via the post, but that means it's almost more impossible for the goalkeeper to have got that angle closed. Absolutely outstanding finish for Rio Hatate. And yeah, obviously we've talked about the celebration, but talk about the technique involved there. And I still think he's got the best technique that we've got at Celtic. If he makes things look nicer when he hits it, I'm sure they can all hit the ball and strike it beautifully. But see, when he does it, it all just looks that bit better.
Aye, it does, boys. And a couple of the goals that I think about is the goal against Hearts, where Craig Gordon was just totally bamboozled by the strike. And then there was the 2 goals against Rangers from outside the box. I mean, I said there in my opening gambit about the 37 goal contributions that Matt O'Reilly takes away with him from last season. That's got to be replaced. But I think that can be done. That can be shared about between McGregor, between Bernardo, between Hatate. If we can get Hatate back on song the way he was in the first season that he came in, where just every time he picks up the ball, anything from 25 yards out, you're expecting him to hit the target. And it was a cracking finish. And as you say, for striking a ball from distance, it's very easy for these professionals that they could strike a ball that goes down the middle of the goal, but the keeper catches it. But see, to get it right into the side netting or in off the post, that's adding a level of precision to it where you're not just trying to hit the target, you're actually intent on putting the ball in the net. I think we need to call out just a special contribution on that goal. Did you see the height Maida got up to head the ball, but not only head it,
Brilliant knockdown, mate.
control his header. To actually control his header, all Hatate had to do was
best
run
first
on
touch I've ever seen him have. It's the best first touch I've ever seen Maida have.
I thought he had a good game today. Now there was one that he put into Rose Ed towards the end, and you were just thinking, okay, Dyson, I've been building you up here. But some of his balls into the box today were actually really, really good. Now they didn't end up with the ball going into the back of the net, and if they had done, you'd have been talking about Maida's contribution. But there were a couple of really, really good crosses. Then, as I say, he goes and ruins it with with one at the end. But I think it was telling today that he was brought back in from the start. That I think he's in the first 11. It'll be interesting to see now as we go into next week who gets that other position, because Kuhn, we learned from the manager, didn't train this week, so he started on the bench. I don't see any way he'd have been left out if he had been fit based on his early season form. The fact that he was now translating potential into goals. But obviously he's had a week off and he's come on as a sub. It'll be interesting to see just what that front three looks like next week, especially now that Ida, whatever his name is, has been given today's game to get up to scratch. He still looked a bit short. He's still a bit short of match sharpness. I'd love him to get a goal. I think he needs a goal just to get him off and running. His link-up play was good. He was making the good runs. He's good at taking the ball in and then feeding it off for the midfielders coming in. Gives you a totally different dynamic from Kyogo. But it'll be interesting to see. There's so much over this next week that's going to be of interest to us. The last week of the window, the Champions League draw, the build-up to the big game. I think our own team selection for next week, I don't see anybody new coming in. No matter who we sign this week, they're not gonna start the game next weekend. What we've got for next weekend is what we've got right now. But I think there's questions to be answered. I think the back four is the same. I think the midfield's the same. But that front three is going to be interesting whenever the team sheet comes out next week.
Yep.
Because let's assume everybody's still there, by the way, because there's going to be a bit of jeopardy. There's rumours around Kyogo, Carter Vickers, Hatate. As I said, I think if the right money comes in for any of these guys, this board will take it, no matter what about anything. But say we even have just what we've got and we bring in a couple of new signings, I don't see anybody starting that's not in that lineup. It'll be interesting to see whether it's Ida or Kyogo, and it'll be interesting to see whether it's Forrest or Kuhn.
Yeah.
Things to look forward to there.
Oh, it's interesting with that. I mean, I love the knockdown first and foremost by Maida. As I say, I think it was the best first touch I've seen him do for Celtic since he joined. It was class, though. I was also thinking today, when I looked at the lineup, we discussed last week, I was kind of convinced Kuhn was now the number one. It's Forrest who started all the games. That's one hell of a rise up the charts, if you like, Terry, from wee Jamesy. Then as you watch the game, and there was a moment of pressing Maida did that was just outstanding. The fullback didn't know what to do. He knocks it round him. He shouldn't have got near the ball. He's ran that quick, and he's done such an unexpected press in what seems like an innocuous area. The defender's not seen it coming. Before you know it, not only has Maida got to the ball first, it's not even a challenge now because the guy's a yard away. He actually just knocks it round him towards the touchline, gets round, and gets to the end of the ball. It might have been that when Sutton said after he's the best presser of the football in the world. It might have been that one. It might be a different one. Sutton said that. But it was at this moment when he did that, knocking it round that fullback, I thought to myself, see one way of looking at who the best winger is at Celtic, or who the first pick winger is. That's kind of what our debate's been of late. I wonder if Brendan also goes, who do the other defenders not want to face the most? Who do their opposite numbers? And let's, if we be so bold to look ahead to next Sunday, for example, who does James Tavernier want to face the least at Celtic on Sunday, next Sunday? It is Dyson Maida. There is no two ways about it. There's not even up for debate. That is the guy that keeps him up at night. That's the guy that makes him want to go to Trabzonspor. And that's the guy that has made him ridiculed and clipped up in so many of the more recent Rangers Celtic clips that we've got, is because Daizen Maeda gives him the sweats, mate. You know when he's on the ball. James Tavernier, for example, to rave about him. He's very good on the ball. He's technically brilliant. He's a sure passer of the ball. He looks nervy whenever the ball goes to his feet because Maeda's doing this closing down and this press that I'm referring to. I'll be very, very surprised if Maeda doesn't get the start, and then for me it'll be a shootout between Kuhn and Forrest. Kuhn has now got a goal contribution, Nicholas Kuhn, every 43 minutes this season. A goal contribution every 43 minutes. Terry, these are the numbers we're looking for from our wingers, are they not?
I think all things being equal, boys say it'll be Maeda on the left and Forrest on the right. I thought Forrest was good today.
Forrest
he had lots of involvement.
Forrest ahead of Kuhn?
Yeah. Hey?
Okay. Forrest is ahead of Nicholas Kuhn?
No. I said I thought Forrest was very good today, but I think all things being equal, it'll be Kuhn and Maeda.
Forrest. That's why you're confusing me.
Yeah, sorry. I thought Forrest was good today, but I don't think he looked as dangerous as Kuhn has looked. Kuhn has looked very, very dangerous. Maeda will start, and the key thing about it is he makes Tavernier nervous, and he makes him uncomfortable. And the key thing that Tavernier gives is his attacking intent. But I think because Maeda's there and Maeda's in his head, that restricts the attacking element of his game, because he doesn't want to be left exposed to anything going down his side where he knows Maeda's got him for pace. In possession, he knows he's about to get closed down at any point. So I think that one's locked down. I think Maeda was good today. I do, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult just with his changing his physical appearance with this blonde hairdo now. It's like a new signing. It's like a new signing.
I know the feeling, mate. I know the feeling. Who's why I'd be looking like this on the bus, mate?
he still gives you that, and as you say, Tavernier, it almost nullifies him. Now, don't get me wrong. He could turn around and he could score and assist a goal next week, because he is that good going forward. But I think that's the key thing, is we've got Maeda back into the lineup again. He's got minutes in the legs. He's ready to go for next week. I do think, all things being equal, I think Kuhn will get the start. The one through the middle will be an interesting one, Bhoycie, because, like I say, Ada got the start because Kyogo had obviously been out, and there were some good elements to his game, but he did look a little bit short. He got a couple of chances on his left-hand side. One, you were kind of hoping it would end up in the net, but he scuffed it. Kyogo then comes on. He's energetic. If Maeda is the best presser in the game, Kyogo might be the second best. You see him closing down the goalkeeper. He had the big skid, and then he was back and he did another one. My personal thoughts is the front three next week will be Ada, Kyogo, and Maeda. Transfer window allowing for all of that, but I thought everybody that's played so far this season, I think we have to give the manager and the players a lot of credit for what they're doing. And the manager touched on a lot of things in his press. I thought his press conference on Friday was brilliant, by the way. I thought it was really engaging, and I think he was very clever.
Just very quick, just so we don't jump for one too quick. I think it's important, like when we look at the lineup options that we've got, what he does seem to have in the wing areas, just to go back to just before, so we can sign that off and then we'll get the press conference. That's cool. I think what you do find is he seems to have got it sorted that we have hungry players right now in these positions. I think that's been the most. He seems to have got them all playing. I don't know, like Nicholas Kuhn comes on today after an amazing start this season with the numbers that we've just discussed, sort of thing. His attitude looks dead on. Maeda scores 2 goals up front last week, shifted out to the wing again. Attitude, dead on. Talking about those examples of the pressing. James Forrest, you know you're going to get the dead on attitude because he's got 13 years in the bank of that in our first team. But I just think that's the most encouraging thing. Do you not feel that department highlights why we constantly discuss the need for proper competition. And this is, in the wings, proper competition for jerseys. Yeah, you mentioned this in the striker role, and it's instantly, oh no, there's a lot, there's a lot, an order here that you need to follow, and it's Kyogo number 1 no matter what, Ida number 2, and whoever else joins number 3. Yet when it comes to the wings, we seem to be able to have these fluid conversations about that department. And do you know what? Look at their performances. Isn't it funny when you have a fluid conversation about it, and you clearly see a fluid, not to, if I say that word one more time, but like a mixed opinion on the manager on who his best two are, but they're all pushing each other. He's not defined like we've been trying to. Who's your number 1 winger? Who's your number 2 winger? He's actually not been doing that, the manager. He's been going, oh, it'll be who's on form, but I'm going to get them all on fucking form. Do you know what I mean? In one way or another. Forrest has got it by, this must be the first season he started the first 4 games, is it not? He started all 4, am I right?
I think so, yeah.
I'm sure he has. That'll be the first time he's done that in years. The first time he's done that. So his confidence is peaking, mate. He's now working his balls off to be on that sheet for Sunday. He wants to start Old Firm derbies again. No one would have thought that for James Forrest even back when Andrew got his squad together the second half of the first season. We thought it's going to be a long way back for James Forrest to be starting the biggest games that we've got, yeah? Then you've got fucking Kuhn coming on doing that. Maeda scoring 2 goals when he's up front. He's that confident. I'll play up front, score a couple. Today he's doing knockdowns with his head. His pressing is still exemplary. He's causing nightmares for opposition players. We've seen Yang have minutes in 2 out of the 3 league games this season, if not 3 out of the 4 games in total. We've seen Palmer usually come on each match as well. So I think he's showing what you can do when you've got multiple options. And my frustration, I think that department, to me, I know people still want another winger. The only winger you go for is Jota if you're going to go for another winger. If you're serious, and he is available apparently, and there is links with it, you get someone like that in bona fide quality and you capture imaginations like we spoke about last week. That's the one. If not, I'm quite happy with what he's done with that department. I think it's looking healthy, it's looking good, and it's been worked brilliantly by the manager. Would you agree with that? Or really, the competition for places being so important in each department?
I think we talked about it last season, and we talked about all the wingers that we got, but it was very hard to name who the first choice ones were, and it was kind of just week by week. Whoever's probably shown up best in training or played well the week before gets the nod. I take Stephen Ray's point there, and it doesn't surprise me. I'd be very surprised if anyone's numbers are better than Palma's per minutes on the pitch, as in terms of output, goals and assists. I would expect Palma's to be the best. And from the moment Palma signed and we started to research him and look at his numbers always look good. But in terms of the eye test, in terms of, I think the wingers that we've got now, be it Kuhn or Forrest on the right and Maid on the left, I think that's almost the first line of defence because of the hard work that those guys give you. And I think you don't get that same reassurance whenever Palma's on the pitch. He doesn't track back just as much as the other guys would, and he probably tries the more extravagant pass and all the things that look good whenever they come off, but the things that get the crowd howling whenever they don't come off. So I would say if everyone played the same amount of minutes all season among all the wide players, I'd expect Palma's goal contributions to be the best, but there's other facets to the game, and I think Maida is absolutely nailed on, and I'm happy enough with either of Kuhn or Forrest. I probably don't expect, unless an opportunity presents itself this week, to get someone who is clearly on a different level than what we've got. I reckon we probably close the window with the same wingers that we've got, other than Mikey Johnson will go. I don't see it, Bhoycie. I genuinely don't see how that happens. I'll take it if it happens. Don't worry. I don't see a scenario where that happens. Although
the story is that there's been an inquiry.
Yeah, the teams that have been linked with him. I mean, the names that were mentioned were Ren, and us. But I mean, how does that happen if the guy's on nearly 200 grand a week? How does that happen? I know. With money and whatever Is he still in the Saudi team? I think he's still in the Saudi team that he went to.
Yeah, he's still at the same.
Yeah, so I mean, it probably doesn't matter to them whether they're paying him 200 grand or they're paying him 190, and Celtic are picking up 10. It probably doesn't
be on
matter.
anything like that. Do you know what? He won't be on. Jota would have left Celtic and then jumped up to 200 grand a week. Like he won't off. I doubt. I mean, if anyone could prove me wrong,
I'm just throwing an extortionate figure out. It'll be extortionate as to what he was on with us.
See, if you look at it, you get Jota on loan. I think they'd be easy to deal with it because they've got a really tight foreign player rule, like how many they can have in the league squad. And Jota's not going to make the cut, essentially. So he's not going to be able to get used in the league games, right? So they'll not be difficult to deal with in terms of getting him out on loan or whatever, because they can't play him anyway. They simply can't. I'm sure they would. I'm sure a lot of the clubs would be pushing these Saudi rules to try and become more expansive on that, because that's probably the only thing that's preventing them really having a feast on some of the best players about in Europe. And I think though right now, whilst it is like that, that's why the doors are ajar for a Jota, because there's no point in having him there not playing. There's no point in paying him if he's not getting played. I appreciate they can afford to, but why would you? Because it's not like you can keep him as a backup player. He can't physically make it if he's not part of the quota. I think there's so much arms and legs to go for that deal. If they're cutting losses because it's 2 years in a row they've barely used him, find out how much they want. What do they want? 15 million? You'll still have been up on Jota overall. Celtic would still be up on Jota if they paid 15 million for him. As a whole, the 6.5 they paid, his wages, and then buying him for 15 again, that would only be less still than the 25 million. They've still made money on Jota.
You're starting to dream you're like a kid in a sweetie shop.
I probably am. But when I read it, I just thought to myself, these are the most important things. That if it is all just about profit, then you've done that with Jota. When you get an opportunity to get him back, you go get it. But again, if we don't get him, I don't cry this at the end of this window, because I'm actually quite proud of how Brendan's got the winger situation looking now this season. I'm happy with it. As I say, I go back to the attitude and application from him. That's the most important thing for me, is because if they're doing that, there's quality there. And all of them bring a different bag of tricks to the party as well, which I like. And I like Palmer too, by the way. I think me and you've been pretty fair on Palmer.
I like Yang. I like Yang for some reason. I took a liking for Yang.
That's unacceptable. I thought you were drinking milk today.
No, but you're saying what we've got. So Mikey Johnson's going to go. So that leaves us with 4, unless I've forgotten about somebody really obvious. So you've got
Maeda, Forrest, Kuhn, Palmer,
and Yang.
So that's 5.
5. Okay, 5. Are you happy with that 5? It is right, isn't it?
No, 5.
5. There's 5. You think that 5 gets us through? It probably should do, to be fair.
5 for 2 positions, but we can't have 3 for 1. Fuck off. No. 5 would be fine. I think the Jota one is one where you go, right, fucking dream big here and go all out for it. And I mean, the reaction to that I speak about all the time, it was meant to be fun, this whole football thing. This is meant to be me stressing about Celtic's profit and fucking loss, which I think younger fans are far more focused on than ones that have got maybe more memorable memories, for want of a better way of putting it.
Well, see, before we go back to the game, just when it's in my head, you talked there about the Saudi rules and stuff. I think what we've seen this summer more than any is the financial fair play rules starting to influence what happens in the transfer market. And it plays out in the Man City to Kyogo rumour, because what you've got now is transfers of convenience, where teams are willing to bring in players that they wouldn't normally go for, simply because they can offset it against sales and wages that they've let go from the club. So if we just focus on the one that concerns us, the potential for Kyogo to go to Manchester City, normally Kyogo wouldn't be on their radar. However, they're under scrutiny for FFP. They've been able to sell Alvarez for 80 million, probably on 200 grand a week. They could then potentially bring in Kyogo on 18 million and 60 grand a week. That starts to tick boxes for them. You've seen it with Atletico Madrid going for Conor Gallagher. There's teams now bringing in players to tick boxes, to fill a place in their squad with a lower transfer fee or a lower salary to try and comply with the rules. So it's a whole different element that's now started to come in. I think this summer is the first time that we've started to sort of see that bear fruit. And whilst if the right offer comes in for Kyogo from City, Celtic will take it and Kyogo will want to go. I think the real reason that would happen is City are trying to comply with the rules of
financial fair play. It makes a more realistic target. It makes a more realistic target, though, for that point of view. It actually raises your fear levels a bit, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Because that does fit in then to them. I mean, let's be honest, though. If you're City, you're going, what's another charge? You know, we're on 113 already.
Well,
it's the point penalty now.
You've got
it's the point penalty thing. Yeah, I know it is.
The home player thing as well, which is still why I still wouldn't be surprised to see McKeown end up at Celtic Park because of the
What's the hold up with that? What's the hold up with that? Because well, not my understanding that to be pish, but how I read it anyway, right, was I got a message Celtic we're going to get him. I got one message. Right? Someone said that's definitely a target anyway. Obviously, he's the most affordable target that we've been linked with this whole summer. So there's no reason not to get him. And then Hibs had the 750 bid rejected. I don't think they've been back in since. So it's a clear pathway. And I mean, people might scoff at that, but if you're a 26-year-old, I know you only get one chance to go to Celtic. Sometimes you might go, well, if Hibs push the boat out and offer me similar wages and make me fucking number one pick in the team, it could be tempting. I thought Celtic would have had him done by now. But it just seems they want to take ages. They seem to go very monotonously go through one deal at a time. Mikey Johnson wants sold, right? Everyone onto that for now. Hey, everyone, stop what you're doing. We're trying to sort out a loan for Mikey Johnson. And then it's on to the next move. And everyone just seems really slow and laborious about hopefully we'll see something, that remotely relates to a proactive recruitment strategy in the last week of this summer, Terry, because we need it. We need it to improve what is a team improving. That's the most important thing. It's not about slights on who we've got. It's not criticism on who we've got. I'm delighted with the improvements I am seeing. However, we then got a goal in the second half. We'll quickly cover that, and then I want to talk about the presser. I'm glad you brought that up. Alistair Johnson, the goal. He's like a wee old man, Alistair Johnson. I feel like he's been at Celtic for 10 years.
I thought he was excellent today. I thought he was
I thought he was okay. I didn't think he was excellent today. I thought he was okay. I thought it was a brilliant, well-taken goal. But Alistair Johnson's one of those folk as well who I don't think no matter how well he does for us, I don't get a feeling like he'll be under the same interest levels as others. I don't know why. I think he's a bit of a throwback player. I think he's someone who strikes. He's not as. I don't mean throwback. Fitness-wise, he's obviously very much of the modern player. He's fit as a fiddle. He could play 60 starts a season if needed. But in terms of he's combative, he's physical. Do you know what I mean? And he's passing and things. Just keep it simple. Doesn't get enough assists for me. I think his final ball could be better. But did he see that bust in the box? It's exactly the runs we were talking about. The fullbacks going in one, and it's like you're watching that, inverted. I think it's called in the cool guys terms. But what I've seen for Johnston again, he's steady as anything. He gives you familiarity to that Celtic team now. He's only been there 18 months, and yet my vibe off him is he's been Celtic's right back for 5 years. Just that vibe about him for me. But that side, what a finish that is. That's brilliant. I'm delighted for him.
It was a cracking finish, and I think he got one quite similar to that at some point last season. But so it probably is part of his game, Bhoycie, that we need to see him take to a new level, because as a fullback at Celtic, most of your participation in the game will be on an attacking perspective, and we've seen Taylor's influence under Postecoglou, and also that of Anthony Ralston in terms of getting forward and getting involved in goal contributions. And I think Johnston, that's probably the one side of his game. I think he's reasonably sound defensively, but he's got a lot more that he can add to his game going forward. And he's shown in flashes like he did today that he's got the ability to do it. But you probably don't see him getting to to the byline as often in terms of getting balls across into the box, or the likes of the underlap run that he's done today and getting the shot away. And again, going back to sort of point I was making earlier, I think if you went equal games all season, I think Anthony Ralston would outscore him easily in terms of goal contributions if they both played every single game in their favourite position. So that's one element of his game that he needs to up. But I don't think there's any doubt. I think he's absolutely nailed on. If he's fit, he plays right back, and there's nobody else in the squad that gets close to taking that jersey off him. Let's just hope that we can see him take his game to a new level. And again, he's probably one of those players. There's nothing really flash. If clubs are doing data searches, he's unlikely to appear at the top of those. In terms of watching games, he probably won't stand out. So he's probably not one of those players that there's any real risk of.
Who really cares? Terry says AJ is the opposite of flattering to deceive.
But
That's brilliant.
He's nailed on. He's nailed. If he's fit, he starts for Celtic until we get someone that's better than him. And I don't think it's a position.
It's not a priority.
Probably looking at all.
No, I agree. I totally agree with that. I think they're absolutely spot on there. Overall, second half was a lot of control, Terry. I mean, but we went in the first half, I think it was 21 minutes to put up the possession stats. 20 minutes into a game, 80-20. Yeah. What it tells me is Celtic's passing is accurate, it's precise, it's on point. What it also tells me is we're winning the ball back quicker. And that all comes from what your eyes are telling you. And that is that intensity is there, Terry. That pressing is high. That sort of work rate. And that motivated Celtic that we were hoping to see, we are seeing. But of course, it wouldn't be P.M.P. unless we had a wee look at Broad Horizons. We enter the final week. Terry, you might know better than me. Is it Thursday? Is it Thursday that the Champions League deadline is? Or is that just when the draw is for player registration?
Champions League draw is Thursday. I don't think the Champions League registration is on the same day as the draw.
Is the registration ever before the window shuts?
No, I don't think so.
I hope not.
I don't think so.
That'd be a stupid rule, wouldn't it? That'd be fucking stupid to do that. Someone told me it was, and it made me panic. So I thought I'd come to yourself for advice. But you don't think it is? Good. No,
I don't
Phil
think
McGinley,
so.
like the good. Oh, fuck it, listen. Phil McGinley's confirmed it me. Draw is Thursday. Registration deadline will be after the window closes. Sound. Happy. I think it was someone actually in the YouTube comments that said the registration deadline was Thursday. Anyway, we'll start with the press conference for Brendan, which was box office on Friday. You're absolutely right. My takeaway quickly from it was this guy is delivering the same message he was before he left. And we all know why he left. And I think history, I've always said this way before we knew Brendan Rodgers version 2 would be back at Celtic and all this. But I always said I think history will be kind to Brendan if folk come round, because they'll start seeing patterns. And the patterns will be the same even though Brendan's not there, and they'll start realising there was more to it why he left. But how he delivers the message of frustration, Terry, is far more mature, more and less egocentrical, I would say. I think the press conference was a masterclass in how to get your fans to relate to your frustrations and how to get a message to the board that will cut them just as deep, but without it having gimmicks within it. Terminado, being a million wingers, all this stuff. It didn't have any of those sort of snide tones, which I thought he was entitled to do. By the way, I would speak like that if I was. By the way, I'm version 1 every single time. That's exactly how I would deliver my message. But it does seem that the second time around to be facing the same uphill battle, but knowing how to get the message across, but probably engaging the fans more with it this time around, because those phrases I've just to give you the examples of, Terry, kind of got used against Brendan after he walked, as opposed to going, he was signposting it, which is kind of the campaigning. I think people thought, oh, no, he was saying that because he was working his ticket. Whereas I think now you can only look at the body of language he's used so far, and you have to come back to going, Billy was right, and he's fair in how he's delivering it. So your mom comes in and says, I don't think BR said anything we don't already know. He isn't really going to rock the boat, but we need better. I don't like him, but I wouldn't play. Well, it doesn't matter if you don't like him. Nobody cares about that, mate. I think that's just irrelevant. But what I would say is, it's not about him saying anything we don't already know. It's about him letting you know he knows. That's very important, first and foremost, Jermo, because that shows you we're in this together, which it doesn't feel like when you hear, I've got a million wingers, Dave. No, he sounded almost like he checked out already then. That's how, but really, I think he was just frustrated. I can't believe that's what you've done. Bring me a winger I've never heard of. We also look at, he isn't really going to rock the boat, but he is rocking the boat. This is my whole point. I disagree with that massively, Guillermo, to be honest with you. I think Adam Ida's joined for money. You probably think there's too much money for him, but I don't know. I don't speak for you, but I'm going to guess so. I think 8.5 million seems crazy. How would it take 12 weeks to negotiate that down? I'll tell you why, because a boat got rocked. That's how it fucking happened. Because Rodgers looked at Kyogo's shoulder injury and went, fuck this. And he went straight to the top and said, you get me my man now, or else. Whatever or else could mean. Would he walk again? Who knows? But yeah, I think he has rocked a boat, to use your most terminology. And I absolutely think in these pressers, listen to how his delivery is different, but it's not to not let the board hear what he's saying. It's all aimed at the board. But what he's doing is doing it a succinct, milder manner with less, I don't know how you would describe it. I said Snyder, but you know, without that wee wicked streak to it where you're going, have a bit of that and all. He's not done any of that now. It's just message clear, loud and clear, but delivered very calmly. Terry, fans, I feel, all watched that, but I've not seen anyone criticise him for that presser. Everyone seemed to watch that and thriving. Do you know what I mean? I think the fan base thought, fucking hell, this guy is really now laser focused on the things we want to happen. And he actually looks as pissed off at times, even if he's not showing it. If you look at the language he's using, I think this guy is now telling you, yes, what we already know. But finally, someone's saying it, and they're doing it with a delivery that cuts even deeper, I suppose, than being a wee bit smart arsey at times. What do you think about all that?
I think he's rocked the boat to the absolute maximum, but he's done it in a very subtle and well-prepared way. I can imagine the Thursday night he's been playing this over in his mind about how he delivers this message. And although he's talked week on week about not sending messages through the press, that's exactly what he's doing. And he's been really, really clever this week because he's just completely batted the ball back into the board's court. What he's done with the supporters is he's basically said to the supporters, I'm the same as you. I want the best version of Celtic that we can possibly have. And he's confirming that he doesn't feel like we do, that we currently have the best version of Celtic that we have. He's affirmed he doesn't expect the club to go and sign 15 and 20 million pound players, but he's alluded to the fact we can improve. We can get players in who are better than the ones that we've got. He's been very, very clear. If we want to improve as a club, we need to bring in players of a better quality. That's as close to the quote as you'll get without me going and checking what the quote was. And he's talked about, he has celebrated what he's been able to do with the players at his disposal, because what he doesn't want to do, he doesn't want to alienate the players that he's already got, because he doesn't have faith that he's going to be given any better players to come in. So it might be in a week's time, he has to turn to some of these players and ask them to go to the well for him. So he hasn't alienated them, but he's been very, very clear that he thinks Celtic can go to another level. Him as a manager, he's got ambitions. They're not being matched. They haven't been matched so far in this window. We've got 7 days for them to be matched. My personal thoughts are it's too late. It's too late in terms of the game next Sunday. Anybody we sign now is not going to play from the start or have any real influence in that game. Matt O'Reilly was going this summer. We all knew it. It hasn't been done yet. It'll probably be done tomorrow or whenever it gets done. But we can't turn around and go, well, we didn't know if Matt was going or not. Matt was always going. Matt was always leaving this summer. That Matt O'Reilly's replacement should have been in the door in the first couple of weeks of the window and allowed an opportunity to blend in. This deal hasn't just crept up on us or sneaked up
Do you know how desperate it's, Terry, with that? Do you know what it fucking is, right? They're so paranoid about £1 million less than what they would really, really hope for getting bid, that I think they're petrified of being proactive and going. Engels 2 weeks ago, Brendan said. Brendan knows the market, by the way. He knows that Matt O'Reilly's for the off, right? He's going. I know he's going, right? He's going. Here's the best replacement. He's available now. But if we bring him in, will that maybe reduce the final terms we get from Matt O'Reilly of Brighton because they know there's extra competition? Mate, that's how they think. So they're looking at it going, oh, well, what we'll need to do is wait till Matt goes and we'll get the maximum value for him. Because we'll play it to the buying club. He's the only key midfielder we've got, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? He's the main man. He's our linchpin. Oh, you just signed midfielder for 15 or 10 million pounds last week. Are you sure? That's what they fear, that conversation. And it's like, let's just go business. You just go, it's got fuck all to do with what we do behind the scenes. But they don't have that attitude. They're petrified, Terry, of getting a 24 million instead of a 25 million for a Matt O'Reilly. That's what they're scared of. It's so bananas to think that comes before the football operation. And of course, it backfired Adamida. They were petrified to pay £6 million at the start of a window with a guy buzzing to be at Celtic on the crest of a wave, a full pre-season against Chelsea's Man City's with him, which we know how they went. We know how that's benefited the team looking at the start of this campaign. And then left it that way that Brendan had to make some sort of warning to them, some sort of firing shot. And it was, all right, we'll just pay more than what you asked for at the start of the window. That is what's happened, by the way. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. There is no danger. They've negotiated a deal down to £8.5 million for either, and every other deal this summer now has to be penny perfect for them. Otherwise, they freak out their wee skulls because they're just bizarre with this spreadsheet campaign that they've got. You're right. Matt O'Reilly, they knew was going. The rumour is £17 million Celtic are willing to spend this week. It'd be around 9 for a Bundesliga midfielder, Engels. He made 30 Bundesliga appearances, I think it was, if not starts last season. What do you make of that? That would be, and then the 8 million be to LAFC for, is it Bogus? Is that his name? The Polish midfielder. They've got a cup final tonight, funnily enough. I might even, if I'm still up, I might watch that. Might be good. Might be good to see how good this guy is because we associate the MLS with free. You know, it's been interesting. Recently, we've seen Abada was nearly £10 million. You thought, well, they're not now just going for guys at the end of their contracts in their mid-30s for free transfers, lucrative contracts. There now seems to be fees going back and forward for that league, which has always been the norm. Do you see Celtic paying 17 million for two midfielders? And would they be doing it whilst clearing the check of the 25 million off Matt O'Reilly?
I don't know, boys. It's a difficult one to try and weigh up because when I was watching that game today, I was thinking, okay, do you know what? Bernardo, Hatate and McGregor, fine. Bernardo coming in, he gives you a bit more physicality than O'Reilly without looking as graceful and silky in possession. But I think Bernardo's okay. But what happens then if you've got an injury to a McGregor or a Hatate or a Bernardo? You're then relying on Odinholm, Francis Turley, Iwata, who disappeared from the squad again today and who just doesn't seem to be someone who's ever going to nail down a regular spot in the team. What happens if you then lose one of those first three? I'd expect us to definitely bring in one of Engels or the Polish lad. The American League's quite a difficult one to try and assess the level of player that you're getting because
I agree.
Remember Lewis Morgan was one of the most valuable players in the league after he left us. He was voted one of the most valuable players in the MLS.
Was it not Sean Wright Phillips is like the all-time scorer in that league or something like that? Or he was the top scorer like 3-4 years, I think. Yeah, but the reason I'm flagging it is because there's more ins and outs from that league in terms of transfers in, transfers out. You know, we've seen Giakoumakis leave that league for 10 million quid recently, having came into it for 4 or 5 million. So you're thinking, just on those optics, the standard might be going up a bit. It might become a more normal, relatable league, like we would associate with the European ones. It's got a more familiarity when you see those sort of transfers regularly occurring for free. Like, do you know what I mean? Because before it just seemed to be either a reserve from England or the UK for Nish on a small contract, or a veteran with a big profile on a massive contract, a very little sums of transfer fees involved.
I don't know if you caught the manager's comments just in between the final whistle and us coming on. He did say he expected that he would get what he wanted this week. After on Friday it was very much we're clear on what we need, or I'm clear on what we need. If we want to improve, we've got to bring in quality. But he's been beating that drum from not even when he came in this time round, but from the last time that he came round. And there was also a quote on Friday where he said, "I've been here before," and that just made me think about that window where he wanted Castagna or Piccini, and that was the level we were looking at, next level players, and the club weren't able to make it happen. And he also talked about the transfer process. He made reference to the recruitment team who are working tirelessly in the background, whoever this recruitment team is, minus the two parts of the recruitment team that left. But what he said was, they do all the research, they present players, that comes to me for my approval, and then it gets handed over to the board, who try to make the deal happen. And I think what he was doing there was he was articulating that the process has fallen down at the last point where it gets handed over to the board to make the deal happen, because he's praised the people that do all the research and identifying. He's obviously talked about his own role in it. The fact we've not got people in means he's clearly pointing the finger at the last part of the process when we hand it over to those guys. These are the players we want, make it happen, and it hasn't happened. And he's firmly batted the ball into their court. And I think what he's done very, very
Have you preferred this version of you've seen, Terry, of how he's conducting it? And do you think it delivers a more closer to what he's looking for outcome? I think these are the questions we need to ask. Because see, at the end of the day, when that January window closed, Leicester followed in February, right?
I think he's protecting his relationship with supporters. Because
right. But does that then deliver a different or the same outcome as what happened last time when he left anyway?
We'll know in a week's time whether it does or not, Bhoycie. But what I think, and he could be sowing the seeds for him moving on again. Because if he doesn't, if the club don't match the ambition that he's got, regardless of whether he said he'd be here for the 3 years or not, I think if he doesn't get the backing and Rodgers was to go at any point over the next 12 months, I don't think any supporter would hold that against him. I don't think there would be the outcry that there was the last time. And I think he's been very, very clever in creating that perception that if anything does happen in the future and he isn't around, the supporters aren't going to turn on him. They're going to turn on the board for not giving him the backing whenever he was here.
Interesting, isn't it? It should never came to this, in my opinion, Terry. I'm sick of hearing about slow markets and all that, by the way. I was talking to Mark on Thursday, and I was saying, there was this release. That's what it almost feels like, a Celtic release through a CQN, and they're fucking talking about, case in point, Brighton. I'm like, really? It's the worst example you could ever use. The Matt O'Reilly deal has took them over 200 million spent this summer. They've been proactive. Now, no one's expecting Celtic to pay that. But what frustrates me is when you get told generic things like, oh, the window's been slow this time around, and it's all... We've got a different excuse every fucking time, Terry. We've got 100 million reasons for it not to be the case. 100 million reasons for it not to be the case. And I think Brendan won't go either way. I think he mends his relationship. I just think he goes, I'll get to year 3, and he'll walk it there. He'll not even entertain extending the contract. I'll be honest with you, I think the very interesting thing with Rodgers having a 3-year deal, we'll obviously normally be appointing them on rolling contracts, that 1-year insurance plan. It's funny that he signed a 3-year deal in the first place. instead of just, remember he first joined, it was a 1 year rolling deal. Then he signed a 4-year deal. Then he left 18 months later. So he started on a fixed term again, like he had the last time as well. Whereas Ange Postecoglou was a rolling deal. So it was a year up, a year's worth you would need to pay plus compensation. Martin O'Neill was a rolling deal. If you remember, Gordon Strachan was a rolling deal. With the year, obviously was it like a year in advance or something? So Rodgers, I think, has to get what he wants. He deserves to get what he wants. I've seen Ryan 118 on the Twitter. He's a good lad, Ryan. And he's posted, he's just put it so simple. Dear Celtic board, back Brendan Rodgers. Thanks. And that was during the game he sent that. And that's obviously a young fan watching the football, Terry, and going, this is brilliant. I know what you can do with more. And that's got to be what we base these decisions on a lot of time. You've got to base it a lot of the time, Terry, on, well, why'd you give him more money? He's fucking proving it. He's doing it in spite of what he's been back with this summer. You've got to be honest with yourself, mate. Look at what he's doing with this team. And we didn't fancy this team to start the season as well as it had. We still expected to struggle if we didn't do proper strengthening in our starting 11 in key areas that I almost think a Celtic fan to a man identifies who can ring off the top of the tongue. Do you know what I mean? Just like that. Left back, left centre back, striker, obviously, we got Ida in the end. Do you know what I mean? But the goalkeeper, we got that. I think everyone knew what we needed in the summer. Now it's crunch time. I like the way he delivered it on Friday. I just think it's going to keep us in sync with him. What are your thoughts on this though, if Engels comes on? Now, to the happy clappers, I wonder what your thoughts are on a guy leaving a top 5 European league for Celtic is. None of them want to come to Scotland. None of them like the weather. Oh, Celtic can't have 30 Bundesliga appearances, mate. And you come. Celtic do that, it puts all that pish to bed, which I never signed up to or subscribed to anyway. It's been the worst argument ever that people do, which I think the board love, because it keeps deflecting away from the truth and it's not being aggressive and ambitious enough, Terry. You've got to admit, guys from any league, if they're available, won't not come to Celtic because it's the weather or you can't attract players to Scottish football. The checkbook will work. The money will talk. And Celtic sells. No two ways about any of those things.
The weather down south isn't much better than the weather in Scotland, and that doesn't present any obstacle to players going into that league. Out of all the players that have been mentioned, and again, I don't know anything really, they're names that you haven't heard before. Engels probably feels like the one that I would most like to happen, just based on profile. Young player on the fringes of the Belgian squad, made appearances in the Bundesliga. That feels like the kind of signing that I would like to happen. The Polish lad from America, again, I don't know if I see both of those deals being done. If both of those deals are done, what does that mean for Turley, Home, Iwata? Those players, they'll not all stay. But the guy
trim the fat, Terry. You've got to trim the fat, mate.
I know
it seems to me Iwata and Home are the fat. I mean, everyone seems to think there's this reliability on Iwata. You rightfully said outscored again today. I think he's just been a de facto backup to Callum McGregor, not a Brendan Rodgers choice to be backup. You get Engels in that bogus thing, and you've trimmed the fat and improved the quality massive. And then you could be looking at a debate of saying 5 for 3 in there, but 5 quality players, and you've got that winger situation that I'm claiming anyway has improved all other levels. That'd be great.
If those two players come in and they're at the level that their profile and potential transfer fees suggest they are, then that probably feels like a strong midfield. Bernardo, O'Reilly, Hitati, the Polish lad, and Engels. If that's our main 5 with a couple of backup players, Home, Iwata, Turley, then do you know what? Fair enough. That feels strong. We've already talked about the wingers. That feels strong. We've got 2 number 1 centre forwards, whilst we probably need a third. That feels strong. You've then got a back line, which Mark made a very good point the other night. I was just starting to come round from Sunday's debacle on the Thursday show whenever you were on with Mark, and I can remember him talking about it was something I thought about last season. There was a game when CCV was out, and I think the back four was Johnston, Welsh, Scales, and Taylor. And once you take CCV out of that, that's an SPL. That's an SPL defence. That's a decent Hibs defence or a decent Aberdeen or Hearts defence. Once you take Carter Vickers out of that, so if those two midfield signings happen, and you've already these there, that takes up the budget that you've heard that we've got. It doesn't feel like
Terry, if Greg Taylor gets a hairband, would that not take him out of that SPL level and elevate it a wee bit? No? Elevate it a wee bit?
I thought Taylor was quite good today, actually.
He's been all right this season, mate. I think he's been good as well.
And I've already said Johnson's quite secure. I think it's just when you see it without CCV in it, optically it all looks weak. And there was a moment today where he was limping. He was limping for 2 or 3 minutes, and already I'm thinking to next week, and I'm thinking, right, Welsh and Scales, what does that look like in next week's game? What does that look like in a Champions League game?
What's Eamon Ravotsky? How's he so far away? Did you ever think when you watched him he looked terrible? Wagabielka gave me the fear, and I said that, and I thought he came out admirably at Ibrox. But on the whole, I thought, fucking hell, I can see why that's not a Brendan type player. I didn't think he looked like he had more mistakes than him than he did assured moments. You almost were like championing his assured moments that would probably be more basic to a CCV that you would expect of a Cameron Carter-Vickers. But Navovsky, I kind of thought, I'm sure we spoke about it. So he looks all right. He looks composable. I just don't get how he's so far. How shite can he possibly be on a day-to-day basis? Is it an attitude thing? Is he carrying an injury? I mean, I just think, but you always call it the eye test, which is a good way of putting it. I looked at him and I think he looks a pretty assured player. I don't remember. Has he had a big? Has there been any sort of fuck ups? I can't think of
nothing major.
I thought he genuinely, on the very few minutes you've seen, I thought, oh, potential. They're like what you would expect, nothing spectacular, but fuck, like no problem. There's €5 million. That's €5 million euros gets you right now, and he's on the fringe of the Polish team. I know you talk about Engels on the fringe of the Belgian team. Be the fringe of the Polish team at 20, hottest coveted player in their league. No, he's not even part of the debate. You just said that. You said Scales and Welsh. That's us going back 3 years.
Well, just look at today's squad. If you look at the bench, the only defensive covers Welsh, and there has to be something behind the scenes, boys. He hasn't looked awful. He's looked competent. We haven't seen enough of him, but he didn't look to be a million miles off what we would need, certainly domestically. I remember the game that he came on. I think it was at the January game when was Vickers still out at that stage, and we started the game with Welsh and Scales as centre backs, and Welsh was actually playing well, but then he got hurt, and we had to bring Navrovsky on. And first 5 or 10 minutes, he looked a wee bit raw, but then he
had a torrid time at that point.
Okay, and he was comfortable. He was comfortable after that. So there has to be something behind the scenes, Bhoycie. What he's shown,
as Monty says, does Navrovsky want it? Training tells you a lot about a player. If you want it, then you go up the levels.
There has to be something.
It's speculation. But I get it though. It's like something in Rodgers' we call him elite manager and all that. Rodgers alluded to it in the summer, but he didn't quote Navrovsky, to be fair. But with Lawal at home, they were identified as two folk who having talent ain't enough. And he literally basically savage. I thought it was savage. Interestingly, Holmes obviously showed him a wee bit, albeit I still think he's a potential loan out. I agree with you on that. But Lawal then was sold. Navrovsky wasn't that far in line, Monty, to be fair. Whereas he'd have been absolutely fair game to have been in that. Whilst you're going to go savage, you may as well include the other players you're meaning for the message to go to as well, eh?
So where does that leave us in terms of centre backs, Bhoycie? We're at a point in this window where our best two centre backs are still Carter Vickers and Scales, and Carter Vickers absolutely 100% all day long. We've been waiting for Scales to be replaced from the moment Scales came into the team. But I think he started this season actually at the level he was at when he was playing his best stuff last season. I don't think he looks just as ponderous. I think it probably helps that the team have started well. We haven't conceded any goals in the league. And there's a bit of momentum there. There's a feel-good factor. Everything looks good. But you know the minute Scales makes an error that costs us a goal, then it's going to be get him out. He has to get out. Why do we not strengthen? So whilst I think if we've talked about the wing positions, we'd be okay if we don't strengthen up front. We'd like a third one, but if we don't, and we still got the first choice two with Dyson as a backup, probably settle for that. It's that defence. Are we going to strengthen that defence? Are we going to bring in someone who goes straight into centre back or left back? I don't think we'll bring in a left back that
Then
goes
we're
in
repeating the same madness. Because with the two positions you're talking about, we have got Bolingoli, we've got Laxalt. Who's the other one? Is there another one? Burnaby. That we brought in to do what you've just described. None of them have managed it. All been shite. Taylor lives on. No offence, Taylor. Good on you. You've won those battles as well. You deserve a hell of a lot of credit for that. Was he not the final year of his deal? I've seen that recently. Is he the last year of his deal? Non-signed? That leaves you in a really precarious position now. Albeit, I think all progressive Champions League clubs 3 years in a row in the Champions League can get better than Greg Taylor at left back. That's a fair point. That's a Champions League comment, right? When it comes to the left centre back, are you seeing a pattern we have had in that position? Instead of Scales, Starfelt won it 2 seasons. Since then, Lagerbielka, Nawrocki, Nat Phillips. 3, if you don't include Starfelt because he held the jersey, albeit you should, because he was still against Scales at that time for that position. It's called downgrading if Scales then is elevated, right? Since then, it's called downgrading. But Starfelt was better than him. He played. 3 since don't play.
One of them a Rodgers signing, just for balance.
Which is totally fair. Nat Phillips on loan, bizarre loan signing that, to be fair, when that's the slim pickings you're given, well, the board didn't spend £18 million, and your contribution to it is a loan signing, don't be surprised it's not the most effective one. You would think the 18 million one should always be, the 18 million incomings should always outweigh a loan signing, Terry. The loan signing at last minute for, to cover for 6 months, 6-month loan. I'm not even going to hold that against Brendan, but I'm biased as fuck. Who cares? It's the way it is. We could see patterns, though, Ted, if we then go for a 4th player to come and fail to take Taylor's jersey. We could see the same thing happen at left centre-back if we go out and get a centre-back that comes in and can't take the jersey off Scales. It'll be Scales and Taylor forever, and yet we'll be having the same debate every year. You've got to go all out, mate. How have they not identified a left-back in 3 years? There has to be one. Brown Warrior will tell you it's the boy for Mealing for Rosenborg, if he's even still there.
That's too long. That one's too long sailed, that one.
But for me, there's got to be something that they've managed to work out between them that can go out. There's money, Terry. There's more money than what there was at the end of the season. There's more money now.
On the left backs, when you heard those names, did you think any of them was definitely going to come in and take the jersey off Taylor?
Yes.
Bolingoli,
I thought was number 1.
Did you?
He was signed to be number 1.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong.
But he was signed to be number 1. Taylor was signed as backup. I mean, I watched Bolingoli first time. I thought, Then at Ibrox, remember the 2-0 win at Ibrox? Remember the 2-0 win at Ibrox when he played and fullback was the Israeli what was his name?
El Hamed.
El Hamed. I wasn't going to get that. And it was I thought Bolingoli looks okay today. Like I wasn't sure, and then I thought that game. Oh yeah, get it now. Turns out he's a nutter, right? I think he was just too fucking hard to manage. Then when Laxalt came in, it was such a fuck up of a season. I thought his first few games he looked good.
See, I did as well.
Man, and I think he's guilty of being part of a shite
I'd agree with you.
whole project system, whatever it was. Bear in mind, unless I'm mistaken, he then went to someone else for like 50 grand a week, right after the Celtic fees. I wonder where he is now.
He's still not to play at a high level. I mean, I think
He could play, mate.
He
It
gets a
was
hard
the wrong,
time. He gets a hard
wrong
time.
movie. Wrong movie as well.
Wrong movie. But ball and goalie, you'd never heard of him. Burnaby, you'd never heard of him. I want us to go and get a defender in the next 5 days that we know is coming in to play every week alongside CCV.
Yep.
And I don't see it happening. The names that we're hearing in terms of defenders, I know McKenna's gone. I said I wouldn't put any money on McKenna taking Scales' shirt. The guy they're talking about now, and you can just see the headlines if we sign a defender called Trusty and he turns out not to be very trusty. I want us to go out in the next 5 days and sign a centre back that the minute we hear that name, we know he's first choice and he's going into that team.
But they've had someone to do that, and it's just that's where my faith goes. It just and then I mean, it tells you something sometimes whether these links are made up off the top of folks' heads. Oh, were Celtic interested? And then went, oh, no way. The boy for Burnley, is it?
The Republic of Ireland defender O'Shea.
He got relegated. They bought him for last summer, 7 million. And then is it a lazy link to the Irish thing? I don't know, and I don't mean that offensively. Like, a lot of people think Celtic are more drawn to Irish players. They do. And you look at that and go, well, if he was a person of interest, is that one we've just sat back? And it's Wolves he's went to, isn't it?
I'm not sure he's actually signed for anybody.
No, he has. It's Ipswich he went to. And Wolves, it turned out, didn't want to pay the wages. It's Bournemouth he's went to. O'Shea, that's it.
Has he signed?
He signed. I knew he'd signed. It's Bournemouth. But apparently Wolves couldn't afford these wages. Or didn't want to pay his wages. I always find that interesting. Like, what could these guys be looking for? But yeah, listen, Terry, I'm going to let you go. It's been good to chat about it. P.M.P next Sunday, will that coincide with the closing of the transfer windows? The transfer window the Monday night?
No. The window's Friday. I think the window's Friday.
I thought it went in usually the first or second.
Is the window not Friday? Let's do a quick Google.
Yeah, do a wee Google, Terry. Go on.
Transfer window UK. I think it's Friday. August the 30th. That's Friday.
Okay.
Isn't it? So the window shuts. The Champions League draw Thursday. Window shuts Friday. Celtic go 5 points clear Sunday. That's this could be a great week or a terrible week. I mean, the Champions League draw to me it doesn't really matter, to be honest, because at this point in time, and again the manager very, very cleverly alluded to this. At the minute, we're only set up to take part. We're set up to go in there and take the money. That's basically what he said in that presser on Friday. He said, I want to go in there and compete. And he pretty much laid it bare. We're not there to compete. We're there just to take part and take the money. That's what he said. And I don't see anything changing this week that means that we're there to compete. However, we'll look forward to it. We'll look forward to the draw. It's better to be in it than not. The new format will be exciting. Looks as if we'll be in pot 3, even though the pots don't really matter. Pots don't really matter though, because you're going to get 2 from your own pot anyway. So let's see what that comes out. It'll still be exciting. The supporters will still spend their 200 quid for their 4-match package, and you know what? You support the club, you're always going to do that. The board won't set us up for the Champions League in the next 5 days, but we'll still, when that whistle blows on Sunday at kick-off, we'll still support Celtic the exact same vociferous way that we do. Just going to close off on one last one. I always say once players leave Celtic, I kind of forget about them. And I know that he's not quite gone, but he's in Brighton. He's doing the medical. We're just waiting for the ink to dry on the contract. I actually think there's a chance that Matt O'Reilly doesn't get much game time at Brighton.
Bullshit. He'll stroll it.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go against you. I'm gonna go that he doesn't get much game time. And the reason I'm thinking that is they've now got 4 players in that number 10 position, and he's the money that they've paid for him is dwarfed by the money that they've paid for some of the other ones.
That'll not be a problem. That'll not be the problem. I'll let you go.
Good luck to the guy. But you know, I won't be checking in on him. I'll not be looking to see how he does. I'll not be watching Brighton.
I will.
Hope he does well. I don't give a shit. Once he's gone, he's gone. But they've got guys. They've got João Pedro, who scored yesterday. They've got a guy called Enciso. They've just paid 40 for a guy called Rutter that plays.
Sounds like you watched them already, Terry.
No. I've just observed. I've looked at it I've just looked at it from the point of view. Well, to be honest, Brighton are actually an attractive team to watch, and I did watch that game yesterday, just because there was nothing else on, and I decided to watch a bit of the football. And they are a good watch. They're a very exciting team to watch, even though De Zerbi, Graham Potter was sort of the first Brighton manager that kind of started making Brighton
sexy.
A decent team, but then De Zerbi took it up another level, and now they've got the former St. Pauli manager who's 31, and it just brings a different dynamic. But they are a very, very exciting team to watch, and I do hope for O'Reilly's sake that he does get in there. But there's a distinct possibility he doesn't break into that team. But anyway, I don't care. Once he's gone, he doesn't mean anything to me. I'm only focused on Celtic, but probably just let's see how that one plays out. It wouldn't surprise me one bit that he struggles for game time and he's moved on in a year's time, but we'll see.
Well, listen, I want to wish Matt O'Reilly the best, because from my point of view, he's the example of knowing you're fucking out, knowing you are out. He's not out.
What he probably does, though, for Celtic is
he has been outstanding, mate, and he brings I think
he's had one good season. He's had one.
That's bullshit. That's just bullshit. But you run with that narrative all you want. That's just bullshit, mate. He played Champions League football at number 6 when Cal McGregor was out and was outstanding in games, mate. Don't be deluded, mate, because Aaron Moy got picked by an Australian manager for a guy's retirement year. And that I'm going to say to you, that's bullshit, Terry.
Aaron Moy was picked above him. Matt
because of Australia bias, mate. That is the honest. Postecoglou picked him, mate, to give him a 6 month up to that World Cup to get him fit. It's so obvious. You look back now, it's bullshit.
Last summer,
bullshit. Fuck off.
Last summer, you would not have got anywhere near that kind of money from Matt O'Reilly.
Because he wasn't getting a game. Because he wasn't playing. Well, he was still getting a game. He was.
You see, last season he took it onto a completely different level.
Good manager.
He took it onto a
good fucking manager, mate, does that. But I know Ange is a good manager. But Ange prioritised a fucking wee palsy-walsy thing. End of story. No way a guy that could be 30 million within a year wasn't as good as Aaron Moy the year before. Think what you're saying. It's bullshit. It was the most biased decision I have ever seen a manager make. All for, we know the World Cup's coming up. Let's get him in that squad. He played him every week. Suddenly he was more relaxed about it after that World Cup. He maybe mixed up with O'Reilly and Moy. Shut up.
He's had one magnificent season. That's all I'm saying. And we've cashed in at the absolute peak. One magnificent season, 18 goals, 17 assists. Would he have done the same again this season? He might have done. All I'm saying is just let's see how it plays out. He could go down there and rip it up. Happy days if he does. I'm just making an observation.
Hell of a year Brendan had. He struck gold down. He got
struggle for game time.
He got fucking lucky that Brendan Rodgers. He had him that 1 year that would be good. Fucking nonsense, man. It's all about evolving. O'Reilly was key the 6 months when he first joined. That next year, you are meant to continually grow him. That's what Brendan's the best at. He evolves players. Ange went for an old pal, and he went for the Australian cause. And to be fair, at least Aaron Moy qualified for a World Cup, unlike Ange Postecoglou managed to with under-21s twice. We'll leave it on that because Matt O'Reilly, you're a legend, mate. I like you. Maybe not a Celtic legend, but he's a good guy. I wish him all the best at Brighton. Hopefully we 2 in. 17 million to be spent, Terry. Enjoy that tonight. Cheers.
Next week.